Okay, this episode is a little bit different and I think you're going to love it. We're talking about how we paid for spring break for our family of four almost entirely using points. I'm talking hotels, flights, experiences, all covered. But here's the thing. When I left corporate, the goal was never a bigger office. It was freedom. And for our family, travel is one of the clearest expressions of that. But travel costs have more than doubled since 2022. So instead of saying we can't, we built a system. In this episode, I'm walking you through exactly which cards we use, how we strategically split business and personal spending, and how I used AI to map out our entire redemption strategy. Plus, I'm walking you through our simple benefits spreadsheet that makes sure we never leave money on the table. This is actually part 2 of our travel hacking series. And if you want to see how our business can literally fund your life, this one is for you. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Crush the Rush podcast. Today is not a strategy episode. Well, it kind of is, but it's more of a life strategy. And so this is part 2 on how we have used our business to pay for travel, specifically how we paid for spring break this year using points. And so if you listened to episode 563 last summer, you know we have really gotten into this quite a bit, and I feel kind of like maybe an expert in this topic given the amount of time we have spent trying to figure this out. So this year, I feel like we've leveled up again and are really trying to put that life first goal first, but also use our business in a way that can benefit both myself and our family. So if you're new to listening to the podcast, welcome. But here's our family rule. We travel once a quarter. And so this came about almost 4 years ago when I left my corporate job, and it was not intentional. I just was like, if I'm going to leave corporate, I'm not going to sit in front of a computer all day. We're going to be more intentional with our time. And so I just on a whim was like, okay, we're just going to travel once a quarter. It can't be like grandma's house. It needs to be somewhere. It doesn't always have to be fancy or big, but we need to go somewhere. And so, you know, when I left, I wasn't after like the bigger title, the bigger office, the bigger team. I was like, I want the freedom, and travel is one of the clearest expressions of that. So since we've made this rule, our family together has been to 11 different countries, and it's really shaped who we are, like to the core, because we've learned so much about each other. Obviously, traveling has so much education. And so the interesting fact and why I wanted to do like a phase 2 of this episode was since 2022, travel for a family of 4 is very different. I would say the cost has almost doubled. My girlfriend and I were joking about when we were in college, the flights to Florida were like $47 or something crazy. And now I think for a family of 4 from Ohio to Florida, it's like $3,000. I mean, it's just a lot more expensive. So like flights, hotel, food, experiences, like it adds up really fast. And so instead of saying, okay, we can't do this, we have to let go of the rule, which we are not doing that. This is what we did instead. And so we've really dialed in using our credit cards for points, which has then led us to be able to pay for our travel. And so the card that I talked about on the last episode where we went to Hawaii using our Marriott points was sort of like a game changer for us. We've been Marriott members since my corporate days. So I am a big Marriott fan. I'm not paid to say this. I am not an affiliate, although maybe I should be. Marriott, if you're listening. But when I was consulting in my corporate days, I was living in hotels. So I got used to nice hotels and a lot of points. And we were able to save enough points to go to Hawaii last year. The problem is we used a lot of points to go to Hawaii. So now we're like, okay, what do we do for the trips that we want to take this year? And I will say the thing that I love about Marriott is they make it really, really easy. There's room upgrades, there's late checkouts, there's free breakfast. And so that matters a lot from a family perspective. So going into this sort of travel season, we knew that we couldn't necessarily use Marriott because we didn't have the points yet, but we're still, earning them. But what we did was sort of separated our business travel points and our personal travel points. So of course, if you're running a business, it should be separated. That's like a whole another financial episode. But for our personal, like credit card, grocery, things that we're spending money on, we use Marriott. For the business side, we upgraded to the Chase Sapphire Reserve. And so that's something different that we've recently done. And so all of my expenses go on this card. So paying my team, software, contractors, if we're running ads, if we're whatever this expense is, like all the AI tools that we're now using, like all of that goes on this Chase card, all of the business. So personal goes to Marriott, business goes to Chase. And this keeps it super clean. But here's the magic that sort of happened. And this is why I love the Chase card so much, is the Chase points are flexible. And so I mentioned, because we went to Hawaii last year, took a ton of Marriott points. But what happened was this year, we are staying in some Marriott hotels because you get points for staying there. And we were able to move our Chase points to Marriott. So we still are redeeming some of our Marriott points. We're staying for free, but we were able to transfer them between the two programs. And so that was really, really nice. And then Chase actually has a travel portal, which we used to book the rest. So we were able to pay for 100% of our hotels. We're going to 3 different states. Our airline points covered from our previous trip covered our flights. And then we were able to use Chase Travel to save on shows. Now, I will tell you, we are flying home from Las Vegas, and that's just because it was easier to just get cheaper airline tickets from Vegas. And so we are going to see a couple shows in Vegas. And we were able to use the Chase Travel portal to save money on those shows. So Vegas was strategic, but also we were able to make it fun by using Chase Travel to help us save money on the things that we wanted to do. And I think that is really the point that I loved, is we were able to stick to the brands that we like, right? Marriott is the brand that we were able to keep our business and personal expenses separate, but we were able to transfer, hey, if we want to stay in Marriott, I can transfer my Chase points to Marriott and back and forth. There's also a lot of other cool benefits on the Chase card, but I will tell you, the thing that has helped me the most is when you sit down to figure out like what card you're going to use for business and what card you're going to use for personal. I actually made a spreadsheet and I used ChatGPT. So I went into ChatGPT and I said, here's where we're going. So we're actually going to Arizona, Utah, and Nevada. And I said, here's how many points we have. Here's the 2 cards that we're using. Help us get the best value. And it mapped us out. It mapped it out for us. It mapped out what properties were better. It mapped out how to use the Chase Travel points. It mapped out how to transfer the points. And so I actually used ChatGPT as my travel agent. And then I went even deeper and said, what experiences in these cities offer the best point redemption or partner discounts? And so it's kind of like a little travel hacking assistant. The other thing that we did is made a spreadsheet of the benefits of both cards. And so this spreadsheet really changed everything. I call it the benefit spreadsheet, and it's literally an Excel file. One of my really good friends does this, so if she's listening, thank you for this. But inside this spreadsheet, we list each card. We list the annual fees, the benefits, the credits, and the expiration dates. And here's why this is really, really important, because you may have benefits that you forget about. So as an example, we have a $250 StubHub credit. Do I use StubHub often? No. But if I book tickets this year because I have the spreadsheet, will I? And then save $250? Absolutely. Now I will. We also have an Uber credit. Sounds great, I guess. Do we use Uber daily? Not really. But what you can use it for is Uber Eats. So did I surprise the girls with Cane's Chicken on Uber Eats when it was snowing on Valentine's Day and we didn't have school? Yes. And was it free? Also, yes. So it's really those little quirks that have made it worth it, because we've got this spreadsheet and we're being very intentional about like what benefits do we have and what do we use them for. So it's really, really intentional. And if you want to do this for yourself, I would just play around with your favorite AI tool and ask it. And so we actually went in and we said, like, compare the Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant card versus the Chase Sapphire Reserve for a family that travels 4 times a year. We try to travel once a quarter. Or you could say, like, what is the best way to maximize Chase Ultimate Rewards in this city? So you could insert that there. You could also say, like, what's the best way to transfer points between, and then you could insert like where you want to go. And then my favorite one is what are the most overlooked credit card perks families forget to use? So you really don't need to be an expert. You just need to ask better questions. And so here's why I'm sharing this. And I realize this is like a little bit of a different episode, but our business funds this. And so does it make me feel better when I invest in things in my business knowing that it's going to benefit our family? Yes. But also, like, every invoice, every team payment, every software subscription, that funds our goal of being able to do more and see more as a family. And so those points become experiences. And I use the spreadsheet, right, so that we don't overspend. We do pay off the cards monthly, and we're very strategic about it. Like, we're still budgeting, but this is a very life first strategy that has really changed the way that we travel, but also changed the way we think about investing in our business. And so when I say your business should support your life, this is really what I mean. It's not about like, look at our travel, but it's like, okay, what is our goal as a family now that we have the capacity to do more things together and to create more time together? And then what tools can I think about using to make this so much better, right? So we designed our business to create this, and inflation is real. Travel is expensive. Should it be easier than, doing all this research? Yes. But instead of sort of giving up and being like, okay, it's just too much, this has really, really helped us. And so your takeaways from this episode are: make sure, obviously, that you're separating your business and personal spending. But if you aren't using points for your business, you're missing out, because we all know that there are operating expenses with our business. Even if it's $100 a month, it still could get you cash back or different rewards based on what card you choose. Pick 1 to 2 cards that align with how you travel, and make sure you track the benefits. Like, create the spreadsheet that lists all the different things that you get, so that when you sit down to purchase something, you don't forget it. You can use ChatGPT or Claude or whatever your favorite AI tool is to compare the options and help you plan. And set a rhythm. Like, our travel rhythm is once per quarter. So that's our goal. And that's what we're using these tools to help us reach. So even if it's a road trip, a one night sort of activity, it's part of the plan. And for me, this is very motivating, because we actually plan our launches around making sure that we're intentional about when we're in town and out of town. And so the actual trip or the vacation comes first, and then we plan our launches around that. So I know that if I get certain things done, then I'm sort of rewarded at the other side, which just is a nice sort of balance and cycle as we go through the year. So we definitely don't do this perfectly, and I'm still new at figuring out all of the rewards, but we are very intentional about it. And, I always say I don't think my girls will remember the point strategy, although we talk about it quite a bit, and why we get to stay at the hotels that we get to stay at. But I do think they'll remember, like, the desert hikes or the Vegas show or the cool hotel pools. And so that's really the real ROI. And so if you're into this or you want to learn more, you can go back to episode 563. I talk about a little bit more of how we got started on this and how we ended up paying for our Hawaii trip. And if you love these behind the scenes episodes, let me know. We're going to add in a couple bonus episodes going forward of what's happening behind the scenes. And, sometimes strategy is spreadsheets, and sometimes it's, Cane's chicken delivered via Uber Eats on Valentine's Day, paid by points, and both count. So I hope this inspires you to maybe think about your business expenses a little bit different, and think about, like, what is that thing that you're working towards, and how can you reward yourself quarterly for all the hard work that you're doing.